Welcome to Build. I'm Ricky Camilleri. Our next guest is the host of the most fun show on the Food Network, Worst Cooks in America. She's a published author, and if you're in New York City, swing by her new restaurant, Phil and Ann's Good Time Lounge. Everybody, please give a big round of applause for Chef Ann Burrell. Thank you. Let's hear it. Now, we had trouble distinguishing what number season you were on backstage because there have been so many wonderful, entertaining seasons with the Worst Cooks in America. What would 12, 13 right now?
I think this 12 is airing right now, and right? I mean, who knew there were so many terrible cooks out there? Thank God it keeps me in a job.
How did it start? Did Food Network approach you and say, we have this idea for a show, we want you to host it? And what did you think when you first heard the idea, Worst Cooks in America?
Well, I mean, it was actually right after I started on the Food Network. My first show was a show called Secrets of a Restaurant Chef. And that was like sort of what we call a dump and stir, like straight to camera cooking, you know.
Now we're
like,
making this.
Right, and to try to make it entertaining, and it's, 30 minutes of just you.
How did you make that entertaining? What did you...
Well, it's so funny. People are always like, oh, I love it when you talk to your food. I'm like, well, it's only a problem when it talks back. But I would do stuff like that, like walking to the oven and be like, oh, my little cuties, just to kind of fill up space, right. Like, so it wouldn't just be like quiet, like, so...
The difference between like a natural TV presenter and someone who just doesn't have that. Like a natural TV presenter is someone who's like, shit, it's quiet. I gotta do something right now.
Right, I mean, that's the way I was just like, all right, what can we do to make this fun and entertaining?
You don't actually talk to the food in your own kitchen.
No. It talks to me sometimes, though. No, I mean, sometimes I do. Sometimes I just am like, oh, wow, look at how beautiful you are. I mean, like, I really still, to this day, get turned on by food. I mean, I get turned on by beautiful produce. I mean, every time I walk into a kitchen supply store, I'm like, bowls and spoons and measuring cups and, spatulas and pans, and I get all excited, all at Twitter about it. I am not allowed to buy any more stuff like that for my house because I just don't have room. And I just don't need it, but, I mean, it still gets me excited. But so after Secrets of a Restaurant Chef was going along, they came to me with this show, Worst Cooks in America, and I was like, what an awful name. Like, I think it took like everyone like a few years to get on board with the title. Even people at Food Network hated it. And then after it started doing well, 3 or 4 years into this situation, people were like, oh no, it's such a great name. And yeah, okay.
One of the things that I love about Worst Cooks in America is I think one of the great lessons that often comes up is that one of the reasons these people are the worst cooks or bad cooks is that they have an idea that cooking something requires so many different elements or requires sauces and this and that. And oftentimes what you do as chefs is teach them sort of the bare essentials and how like cooking with oil and cooking with a skillet and a good piece of meat can be enough.
So, I mean, I am also myself a very sort of simple, straightforward cook. I mean, I'm about really great cooking techniques. I'm about always the low-tech solution to solve a problem or to as a means to cooking. And when people ask like, how can I get started? What can I do? This is also cracks me up about the Worst Cooks in America. When I ask them, okay, well, how did it work out when you followed a recipe? And they're like, a recipe? Like, that's the craziest thing I've ever said to them. And I'm like, well, I mean, I know when I don't know how to do something or don't know how to get somewhere, I look for some directions. And that's what a recipe is. And people just are like, oh no, I just wing it. And then they're shocked when it doesn't come out well. So, I mean, I just tell people, pick out something that you want to make, like, and don't have it be like Thanksgiving dinner for your first foray into the world of cooking. Have it be like a roasted chicken. Have it be an omelet. Have it be something easy or, basic. Do that, build your confidence, do it well, and then also remember, you are the chef of your own kitchen. So if you don't like what the directions in this recipe say, go find another one. There's lots of places to find recipes, but just get out there and try food and taste it and experience new things, but do it in baby steps.
I think often people don't realize that a recipe is in many ways a blueprint. You should follow it as much as you can if you don't know what you're doing, but you're still gonna mess stuff up and you're still gonna have to learn on your feet and figure out what you're doing. And that's how you kind of learn how to cook and learn what you like.
Absolutely. And I mean, I used to teach culinary school, and and when I was a student, I never would wanted to have heard this either, but you actually learn more from your mistakes. You learn what you did wrong, how to avoid it, or how to fix it. And you remember that so much more than if you just made something perfectly and you were like, all right, there we go, check that box and move on to the next thing. It is about cooking techniques. It is about repetition, repetition, repetition. And, there are more people in culinary school probably today than there ever has been, but no one actually really wants to get out there and cook and do it over and over. And everyone just wants to be chef. They want to be chef first. And it's like, it takes a long time of understanding all of what happens in a kitchen, or in your pan or on your plate or however that works, to just internalize these things. I mean, for years after, and still to this day, I have what I call little light bulb moments of oh, that's why we do this, or these little yes, okay, I get it. These are the reactions that are going to happen. Now I can kind of make up my own recipes, or I can sort of break the rules because I know what they are.
What was the first dish you made where you thought to yourself, I want to cook, I want to do this?
Oh, I mean, geez. I cooked my whole life growing up. I mean, we had a big garden. My mom was a great cook. And I just loved it. To me, it was like an arts and crafts project with something to eat at the end. So I loved it. But really, I think what got me hooked, saying that I want to make this my career, was pasta. I got one of those old-fashioned hand crank pasta rollers for Christmas, and I spent all day making 1 pound of pasta, and I was like, I've got to be doing this wrong. Now I make 1 pound of pasta in 10 minutes, and I'm like, what was I doing all day that took me, I don't know, and then the pasta came out crappy. So, I mean, but people have those experiences, and they're like, look, I tried this, it didn't work. I'm just not a good cook. I suck, so I'm not going to do it anymore.
Well, I think it's difficult because at the end of failing at cooking, you don't have anything to eat.
You don't have anything to eat. Your kitchen's a mess. You're tired. It costs you money, and now you have to order a pizza.
It's not
it's very discouraging.
It's not like failing at a puzzle where you're just kind of like, oh, I failed at this, whatever, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna go eat something.
Right.
Failing at cooking, you really feel like a failure.
Yeah, and most likely, if you have a family like mine or friends like mine, they'll tell you did, and they'll always remember it.
Do you often find that when you finish cooking a big meal for a lot of people, you're not nearly as hungry as you?
I don't want to eat what I've.
Yeah.
I don't want.
What is that?
I've been tasting it the whole day. I'm like, I want to eat something someone else made. Yeah. I mean, I love cooking and providing for everyone, but Thanksgiving dinner, Christmas dinner, whatever, I never eat. I never. I don't it makes me so happy to feed everyone else, and I'm like, nah, I don't want this.
Yeah, it's such a weird thing.
I know. I don't know why that is. I don't know why.
You're like, you don't like what you made? No, I know it's good, but I don't really want to.
Right, exactly. I've eaten this all. I've been tasting it all day. I haven't really eaten anything, but I've tasted this, so I don't want this.
Now, you mentioned that pasta, you said was really the first thing that you realized that you sort of loved what you were doing. Now, I'm curious, at this stage in the game, do you find that it's still those sort of very simple, basic tools and basic things to cook that still make you in love with cooking?
Pasta, to this day, it is my if I need to go to a happy place, if I'm bunched up or whatever, if I make pasta, when you start off with things that are flour, eggs, olive oil, salt, things that are so base and so ubiquitous, and then it's what you do with your hands and your desire and your skill as a cook. So, where are you going to go with that pasta? The ritual of making the well with the flour and then rolling it through the machine, and then you think about, is it going to be a short pasta, a long pasta, or what season is it? What kind of sauce do I want to put with it? The world is open, and the possibilities are amazing, and it's what you do with your skill as a cook.
What is the worst dish you've ever cooked? What is a moment where you felt like the worst cook in America?
Oh God. I definitely made some big fat mistakes in my life. Geez, I try to put those behind me. I don't know. I've never made a mistake. No,
For
everything
you.
that I've
That's
made
why
is
you're the
perfect
that's why
every
you're the
single time.
teacher on Worst Cooks. What have you been most shocked by on Worst Cooks in America?
Oh, I mean, every season, it's it's really funny. Every time I get a new co-host, they look at me. I mean, Bobby Flay did it, Rachel Ray did it, Tyler Florence did it. Like they all look at me and they're like, "Are you effing?" Except they don't just say that. Are you effing kidding me with these people? And like, and I'm like, they're kitchen cookerinas is what they really are, and I feel like the queen of them because I'm like, well, there's a reason this show and I work really well together. But I mean, I've seen people. Geez, there's so many crazy things that I'm trying to think of some of the craziest. One of my favorite ones was, this dude that, I mean, not even on lesson 1, 2, 3, or even like lesson 6, it was like lesson 10, decides that he is going to make a grilled cheese sandwich and puts the cheese directly on the grill with no bread, and then is shocked that the cheese stuck to the grill. And I mean, like, I look at that. I mean, my nieces and nephews who are like, 10 are like, what? Look at that guy. That's what he did. I mean, just the combinations of stuff that people come up with,
That's what's so strange sometimes to me is that they don't just not know how to cook, they have weird notions about how to cook.
yes, and the things that they want to put together that I'm just like, a lot of times just make me say, huh.
One that I recently saw was a woman who loved ketchup so much, and she was pouring it all over a beautiful piece of meat. It was like a massive steak, and she was pouring ketchup on raw steak.
Right. Well, I mean, they say ketchup is the American mother sauce. I guess. I mean, people have a love for condiments. I guess. But yeah, the ketchup's.
It really gets to you sometimes.
Right,
doesn't it?
and I'm like, all right, let's put the ketchup bottle down, like step away from the ketchup. Let's try a different condiment.
I want to
for
say,
today.
have you ever just had a very well cooked, not like a medium rare, just like a good steak, not with no condiments? Have you ever tried that, guys? Just a very cooked very well steak?
I think that concept is lost on people like that, but it's also.
No, I need ketchup and salt and pepper all over it.
I mean, it's shocking to me though, but then I really think about who these people are, where they come from. And I have to say, in New York City, we're really lucky that we have the availability of great restaurants, great supermarkets, great farmers markets, like fresh produce and stuff from anywhere in the world we can get that's absolutely gorgeous. And then I see it a lot when I travel outside of New York, and I'm like, wow, well, I mean, the nicest restaurant you have here is like a chain restaurant. I don't want to say anything. I don't want to make. I mean, I don't know why I'm being so reserved today because this is not usually me. But I mean, you think about like what people's diets regularly consist of, or what areas of the grocery store they shop in. And I am a big proponent of the perimeters of the grocery store because that's where the fresh food is, that's where the fresh produce, fresh meat, dairy, cheese, all of that. And there are people that head directly for the freezer aisle of, we were kind of talking about before, of TV dinner situations. Well, we have a lot more stuff than it's just not called TV dinners anymore. There's a lot of processed frozen food that people just turn to because they don't know any better, or they're just. And it's not, people say like, oh my gosh, are the people on Worst Cooks really that bad? They're so stupid. I'm like, no, they're not stupid. They just haven't learned yet, or they haven't been interested in learning about cooking. And it's definitely a process to learn about cooking. You're not gonna, even if you follow a recipe and all this, and sometimes it's just not gonna work out that well. That's okay.
And it's a process to learn what is actually good and what ingredients are good. It's a process because we're actually, in so many ways, sort of, what is it called when you de-brainwash somebody? I feel like that's a lot of what needs to happen.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, yes, we have availability, or there are things, organic vegetables and all this kind of stuff. Those are available if you search them out, if you buy them, if you want them. But a lot of times people don't know even what that stuff is. Why is this organic lemon, so much more than just that one over there? What's the difference? Or well, this bag of salad versus something that I go to the green market and buy, why is that different? Well, it's still salad, kind of stuff, and it's a great vessel for my ranch.
Talk to me about your new restaurant, the Good Time Lounge.
So, Phil and Ann's Good Time Lounge in Cobble Hill in Brooklyn opened in May of last year. And it is, the more I was going along being a celebrity chef, the more people did not want me to cook. So I really was missing a lot about the restaurants, or the restaurant business. Like, I was missing having my hands in food every day. I was missing being able to feed people and feeling like the hostess all the time. I get such joy out of providing for other people. My mother hates it when I say this, but I say, as a chef, I'm a professional pleasure provider, I love my job and I'm good at it.
There is an addiction that comes along with working in a restaurant. I think I worked in restaurants for like 3 or 4 years when I first moved to the city and when I was in high school. As much as I don't want to go back, I genuinely do miss a lot of the experiences and like the feeling of a rush, in a restaurant.
It's the adrenaline of service. It's the kooky people that work in restaurants. It's kind of like the land of the misfit toys. And, it's the camaraderie, the fun, the inappropriateness, the stories of, talking about like boneheaded customers. Of course, we have no boneheaded customers at Phil and Ann's Good Time Lounge. Every single one is stellar, perfect. But, just people in general fascinate me. Human nature. I think, I think being a chef is a little bit, you learn just a lot about human nature. It's kind of like an anthropological study. There's so much wrapped up in food. It's about family, it's about history, it's about tradition, it's about body image, it's about emotions, it's about control, it's about losing control, it's about being, having hedonistic pleasures. It's, there's so much wrapped up in it, and people get freaky around food. It's kind of funny.
I've always said when you're interviewing someone for a job, really no matter what occupation it is, one of the questions you should ask is, have you ever worked in a restaurant in your life? Because you really do learn a lot about work ethic and about working with people in a variety of ways working in a restaurant.
I feel like if everyone took a turn in the service industry, whether it's a restaurant or some other service industry, the world would be a very nicer place.
I agree with that. Let's get some questions from our audience. Who has a question?
I was just wondering, you cooked so many delicious food over the course of your career. I was wondering, is there like any particular food or some kind of cuisine that you want to learn to make yourself?
Well, I have to say, I made the restaurant industry or cooking my career for 3 reasons. It's one, I can go anywhere in the world and do my job because people eat everywhere. 2, I love the combination, the nutty people that work in the restaurant industry, as I was just saying. And 3, my education is never over. So there is always something new to learn, always something to keep my brain excited, always new flavor combinations. And what really enforces that for me or reinforces that for me is traveling. Like, anytime I would go to the opening of an envelope. I would travel anywhere because the way people experience food when they are, that is their area, their culture, their all that kind of stuff. I would never say no to learning something new in the kitchen or about new flavors or new cuisines or just, this is the way someone's grandma did it and this is why. And everyone has those little tricks and things, like you could follow a recipe, but if I go to the place where this food is actually from, you experience it in such a different way and you feel that food, you feel the culture. Food is not about just international borders. It is in the people, it's the culture. And so when those people move to another country or that kind of stuff, those things go with them. And I think that is just beautiful.
Next question.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. So I attended a cooking live event with Ming Tsai for Family Reach event where you were one of the celebrity chefs. I was wondering how you got involved with that. And second question is, I just moved out from Cobble Hill. I didn't get to try your restaurant, but how did you pick that neighborhood to open your restaurant in?
Okay, so I got involved with the Ming Tsai event because Ming asked me to. So, I mean, it's his charity, I think, that he does. And so he asked me to be a part of it. Ming is a great guy. It was a great charity. So, of course, I would say yes. Plus, it's just fun. Like, events like that are fun to hang out and cook with other chefs. And, you know, it's like a little bit like a field trip from school. I love that kind of stuff. So I wound up in Brooklyn because the real estate deal was brought to me that seemed like it was more manageable than Manhattan is. And once I got there, I was like, oh yeah, right on. Like the universe brought me to this neighborhood because it's a little bit kooky. It's great. There's amazing people there. There's families. There's all kinds of people and cultures and stuff out there. And I'm like, all right, I feel like I fit in this little nutty neighborhood. And I love it.
Cobble Hill's a wonderful neighborhood. I think we have time for one more question. Right here.
Hi, Anne.
Hi.
If you could change one or two things about the culinary world, what would you change?
Oh gosh. Well, let's see. I would have people get paid more. You know, it is a tremendously difficult business, especially when you're starting out. You've graduated from culinary school, and you know you start off at the bottom of the barrel, and you know it doesn't pay that much, and it's hard to have it be a viable way to make a living. And because of that, I feel like the talent pool gets tapped out a little bit, or people are like, you know what, I love this, but I just can't afford to work like this, so I have to go do something that's going to pay me some more. So I would have it be, you know, like from when I graduated from culinary school to what to now, which is, you know, just only 1 or 2 years. You know, pay rates for line cooks and stuff has not gone up very much. I know as a business owner, it is very difficult to, I mean, like the costs of everything keep going up, and what you can charge for stuff doesn't. So, you know, like that's definitely what I would change is, you know, like to be able to pay people more, or to have people be able to earn more, and to have the costs of doing business in a restaurant, you know, versus what you can make. The margins are so thin, and it's really tough. So that's definitely one thing I would change. What else? I mean, you know, in a makeup in an imaginary universe, I would be like, all right, well, let me like work like 6 extra lunches this week, so I could take lunch off next week. You know, but lunch and dinner come every day, so it's not like you can work ahead this week to take time off next week. You know, that's like a very imaginary world, but. I don't know. I love this business a lot. There's not so much I would change.
Anne, I love the show. Worst Cooks is on Sunday nights on the Food Network, right?
Yes, it
And you actually host screenings of the show at your restaurant.
We do viewing parties every Sunday night of Worst Cooks in America. So I actually watch the show with whoever decides to come. So come and watch the show with me. Come and see me. Let's hang out and have a couple of cocktails, and I'll tell you the inside scoop.
And Phil and Anne's Good Time Lounge is in Cobble Hill. So, I mean, they can go there for the screenings, or they can go there for any other night for dinner.
Absolutely. And brunch on Saturday and Sunday, which is always fun.
Everybody, please give a round of applause for Anne Burrell. Let's hear it.
Yay!